Hi, I'm Rick Biella, the Artistic Director of the San Antonio Chamber Choir, and we're here tonight to tell you some stories. We all love a good story. Sometimes they're in the form of music, sometimes they're in the form of books, and they are our lifeblood. Now, I'm a good reader, but I'm not a great reader like my wife, but I do love some good books. And I wanted to share with you some books that you may find to be quite interesting. The first one is Monica Wood's The One in a Million Boy. It is a heartbreaking tale of loss, love, and friendship. A novel with a huge heart. Closer to my home is a dramatic novel by Robert Ford called The Student Conductor. The book rips into the veiled world of classical music. Man and music, passion and politics intertwine in unforgettable counterpoint. David McCullough is a favorite of mine, I'm sure of many of yours. He always makes history come to life for me, far more than any other writer I know. His Pulitzer Prize-winning book, 1776, tells of the intensely human story of those who marched with General George Washington in the year of the Declaration of Independence. 1776 is powerful testimony to how much is owed to a rare few, and what a miracle it was that things turned out the way they did. Completely different book is Solitary, the unforgettable life story of a man who served for more than 4 decades in solitary confinement in a 6 by 9 foot cell. 23 hours a day he was in solitary confinement in a notorious Angola prison in Louisiana for a crime he did not commit. Albert Woodfox survived to give us Solitary, a chronicle of rare power and humanity that proves that better spirits of our nature can thrive against all odds. And finally, David Sedaris is one of the funniest human beings alive. His book, The Best of Me, is full of joy, generosity, and incisive humor presented. Spans a career looking, watching, learning, laughing, mainly at himself, and invites the reader deep into his world. Beginning in September, it will be the start of my 8th season as the artistic director for the San Antonio Chamber Choir, following founder Scott McPherson's wonderful work to get this group off the ground in his first 9 years as director. We are in a situation where we had come to a screeching halt some 15, 16 months ago, and our last performance with the Youth Orchestra of San Antonio in February of 2020 was our last time in person. But we have continued to reach out to the community. In our All State for All camp, we had over 200 participants from the entire state participating and learning about the composer and the music for all-state preparation, had our section leaders deeply involved in methods of teaching the students. Many of the students were able to chime in because it was given at no charge to all of those students in the hopes that they would still be able to have a musical experience even though we weren't able to meet in person. In the fall, last year, we presented Rightfully Hers with a wonderful slate of actors and singers that presented the storyline all the way back from the middle of the 19th century up to the present day for those trying to work towards getting the right of all women to vote. At Christmas, we presented a beautiful offering called A Baltic Christmas with pictures from the Baltics and pictures of children, pictures of scenic views that were just breathtaking to complement our 2017 production CD called A Baltic Christmas. And we continue to work to reach all of you, and we hope that you can reach out and find in your heart to give to our group as we try to honor our commitment to intersecting with ensembles of all sorts, actors, dancers and singers and artists at every level to create the most beautiful music that we can. So tonight we present Sing for Life. And it's for the life of our community, for the lifeblood of music itself that we move forward with this. So if you are feeling so moved tonight, we would love to have you give generously to the San Antonio Chamber Choir. To start our program, we journey back to February 25th of 2017. We presented a concert called The Mozart Effect, composers moved by Mozart. Perhaps it was through his melodic contouring, the harmonic shading, the orchestration, or the counterpoint, but he indelibly touched composers from the great romantics to those composing now, from Haydn and Beethoven to Tchaikovsky, Rossini, Schubert, Rachmaninoff, and even to the Beatles. Here is one excerpt of a song you all know and love with a real Mozart connection. Here is our rendition of that great Lennon and McCartney song, Blackbird, arranged by Gary Rosen. Soloists are Carr Hornbuckle and Mary Ashton.
Blackbird singing in the dead of the night, take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to
Blackbird singing in the dead of the night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird singing in the dead of the night.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Ruiz and I am a tenor from Harlingen, Texas. I began singing in a church. Many individuals and parishioners alike informed my parents and I of the voice that I have. They encouraged me to continue my vocal development and take voice lessons with many individuals in the surrounding community. One of my favorite memories in particular was performing the Phantom in my Harlingen High School South production spring show of the Phantom in the Opera. I was so immensely happy performing with many individuals, and I hope to do it for the rest of my life. Now, I am pursuing a Master's of Music in Vocal Performance at the Manhattan School of Music in New York City. There, I'll be partaking in productions for the opera theater selections and other individuals there that I'll be able to grow alongside with. San Antonio Chamber Choir is a great organization. It has given me many development opportunities. The San Antonio Chamber Choir, with the many individuals, are professionals in the area, but also the partnership with the Alamo City Street Choir, another group that encompasses camaraderie with other individuals of less fortunate circumstances. They are able to learn from each other and grow as one unit. Today, I will be performing Allerseelen by Richard Strauss, a German art song that in its English translates, "All souls stay." And what better to remember the souls we've lost and the people we've lost this past year in a global pandemic than Allerseelen. This song speaks of many memories of hand-holding, giving flowers to the individual you love, and just remembering the times we spent together. I hope you enjoy this selection. I hope to continue singing with San Antonio Chamber Choir, and I hope to continue in my musical success. Thank you very much.
Stell auf den Tisch die duftenden Risen, die letzten roten Hastentragerei, und lass uns wieder von der Liebe reden, wie einst im Mai. Gib mir die Hand, dass ich sie heimlich drücke, und wenn man sieht, mir ist es einerlei. Gib mir nur einen deiner süßen Blicke, wie einst im Mai. Es blüht und duftet heut auf jedem Grabe. Ein Tag im Jahr ist ja den Toten frei. Komm an mein Herz, dass ich dich wieder habe, wie einst im Mai. Wie einst im
There are times in your life when you're sure you made the right decision. And one of those decisions was made when we decided to start the Alamo City Street Choir. Here's Tracy Powers with a couple of her singers.
Hi, I'm Tracy Powers, director of the Alamo City Street Choir. We started the choir in fall of 2019 and have taken a short break, or a little longer than short break, starting in March. We work with San Antonio Chamber Choir, Travis Park Church, and Core Zone Ministries. We rehearse every Wednesday and perform about every 2 months. Our goal is to offer a creative outlet to those who may not get one, those experiencing homelessness and or severe disadvantage. It's really been an honor to work with this group, and I know it's expanded my heart And I hope it's expanded the heart of those who sing, as well as those who sit in the audience and clap along or sing along or just listen. And I really look forward to starting in a couple weeks, and I hope you can come hear us at Travis Park Church or someplace else around town. Thanks so much for your support. All right,
Video?
we're going. Hi,
Okay.
Leo. How
Hi.
are you?
I'm doing well today. How about yourself?
Good. So
Good to hear.
you've got a good morning at least today.
I did, yeah. I'm pumped up for the day.
Yay.
And
Okay, well, tell me. It's so good to see you. I saw you yesterday, and it's good to see you today. And tell me about singing in the choir and what it was like.
I looked forward to it all day. Like, even if I went to work, I made sure I'd get off before the choir, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like really excited to be a part of something again, and I wanted to expand my praise and worship and learn a little bit more about Jesus, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And the last time we were together, we were singing Joshua Fought the Battle of Jericho.
yeah, so like Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. But you taught us how to do the CH as a K sound, so instead of co, like you got to do co and enunciate the T more, like ta, ta. So I was like, it was interesting to learn a little more techniques, because my mom would sing, my dad would sing, but I don't have the tone or the pitch or
Actually,
the
you know
range.
what? You do.
Oh, I do?
Yeah, you do.
But I've been trying to learn Amazing Grace. So, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was once blind, but now I can see. So I was like excited about that.
Yeah.
I was learning another song too in a church home. It's what is it? May the fire on my altar never burn out. May the fire on my altar never burn out. Build me a house of prayer. So I've been getting more and more into music. So even secular music, I'm starting to remember a lot when I'm ready to go to sleep. But I really like Hillsong United. So I try to have that on my playlist, and Jordan Felice, Down to the River.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited that it's coming back.
Yeah. Gift of music, right?
Right, yeah, it uplifts the soul some days.
Yeah.
And when you're out there in the hot sun digging a trench for work, it's like, wow, you got nothing to do except think to yourself. And
Yeah.
what better way than to sing a
Yeah.
little song, yeah.
It's cool that that's the tape that's going in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've learned that do everything as you're doing it for the Lord, you know? So if you're
Yeah.
working, just praise the Lord. And,
Yeah.
and then I actually read Joshua, and then how he was obedient.
Yeah.
Like walk around the 7 times and blow the trumpet, and then I also read the book of Deborah, where her faith was enough, you know, was saved by her in-law, her mother-in-law. So I was like, it's very powerful. Like, I started reading John. I could never get through John. I did Matthew, Luke, and Mark, but
Yeah.
now I'm starting John.
Yeah.
And then
It's amazing. If
yeah.
you have like a little tiny fraction of that faith
mhm,
of Joshua and Deborah.
the mustard seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mustard seed, exactly. Wouldn't that be amazing if you could capture that?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the music gift. do that.
The gift of music. Yeah, I got the smarts down and I got the body down, but I'm missing a little bit of spirit in my
Yeah, well, we
my
all
day.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, great to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Hi, Michael. How are ya?
I'm doing fine. I'm right here in front of the San Fernando Cathedral.
Yeah. And how you been during COVID?
Oh, horrible. It's been a horrible
Yeah.
session. Going through everything right at that time, and it's
Yeah.
getting better. It's
Yeah.
getting better.
I bet it's been a little lonely.
Oh, of course. You don't see much of your friends anymore, and everybody's trying to keep their distance.
Yes, exactly. So you remember being in the choir, in the Alamo City Street Choir?
Oh yes, I enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it very much.
And how did singing make a difference to you?
Well, it kind of brightens me up for a little while, you know. Well, it gives me a little bit of inspiration. You know,
Yeah,
hey, I can still sing.
it brightens me up too. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Our stories are often difficult to unpack, but all of us can remember having the goodies at Christmas time and enjoying that marvelous food Perhaps it was a Christmas sausage, as it would have been with this Latgalian folk song. The story is about the boys wanting this Christmas sausage, but because they didn't feed the pigs, they got fed the horse meat sausage instead. Beautiful little piece, delightfully sung, called Calado.
Hello, my name is Kay Sherrill. I am currently the Vice President of the Board of Directors for the San Antonio Chamber Choir. I have been a founding member of the Chamber Choir as a singer and also a board member, and I love being involved with this group and helping it grow and thrive over the years. This is a little bit of my story, and Rick asked us to tell you a little bit about where we came from. I was a little piano player and a singer in my younger years. And in junior high, I just sat in the alto section on the first day of choir, and I stuck there. And I stayed in that alto section, and I learned how to sing harmony. And my twin sister sat in the soprano section. So she was the soprano and I was the alto. Well, it turns out that that wasn't the best place for my voice. And I was one of those unsuccessful singers. I never made the region choir. I never made the all-state choir. I became a music major, but I studied piano. In college, I tried out for the top choir over and over again, and I never made it. My senior year, I thought they'd put me in, but they just didn't. And I cried for about 3 days, and then I got up off the ground and I said, well, I guess you better learn how to sing. I enlisted the assistance of the best voice teacher that I could find. And then as I became a teacher myself, I began to learn more about the voice, and I began to develop my voice. So around the time I was 38 years old, I got up the courage to try out for a solo. And I did. And I got the solo. What a shock. From there, I screwed up my courage and I tried out for a choir here and there. And lo and behold, I got into some choirs. And in fact, I even found out that people would pay me to sing for them. That was a shock. And along came Scott McPherson, tapping me on the shoulder and asking me, would you like to be on the board to help start a professional chamber choir in San Antonio? I said, no, I don't have time. And then I did it anyway. Continuing to grow and learn as a musician under Scott's leadership. And then when he left and retired from his position, we were so fortunate to lure Rick Biella in to be our artistic director. And I've continued to enjoy singing for him, singing all the treasures and amazing, beautiful jewels of great music that we've been able to sing under his leadership. And so that little scared little alto voice turned into a much better soprano voice. But I'm still the little piano player that loves to sing Girl Scout songs. So we hope that Sarah and I, who are singing together, we hope that you enjoy our little duet, and that for you it represents, as it does for us, simply just the joy of music, the joy of singing, the joy of just opening our hearts, letting go and singing with abandon, and loving what we sing and loving what we hear. So we hope you enjoy our performance today.
Hello, my name is Sarah Brandt, and I'm a member of the San Antonio Chamber Choir Board of Directors, and this is my musical story. Singing has been a part of my life that has enriched it and given me pleasure since I was a little girl. Growing up, I would sing with my sister Maggie. She played the piano. I would sing along. We'd sing folk songs, show tunes, Christmas carols, Beatles songs. We just loved sitting around playing and singing. We do it for hours at a time. I also got involved in more formal choral groups. I sang in my church choir, and I also sang at school in choirs. In middle school, in 8th grade, I decided that I wanted to make choir my instrument. And so I tried out for the concert choir. And as part of that, I had to do an audition. And the audition was for the director of the choir at the time, and his name was Rick Biella. So I tried out, and Rick let me into the choir, and it started a 4-year journey through high school together, doing all sorts of fun performances, starting out my freshman year with Little Abner. I played one of the girls in the show in the chorus. And then other highlights in high school included putting on A Mall and the Night Visitors and the musical Showboat. I was also in a madrigal group, and we had a lot of fun doing songs with that. So I had a great experience working with Rick and singing in high school. So now let's fast forward 44 years later, and I'm living in San Antonio and commuting to work one day, listening to NPR, and an interview comes on the radio talking about an upcoming San Antonio Chamber Choir concert. And they introduce Rick Biella. And I turn to my husband and say, that's gotta be my high school choir director. What's he doing in San Antonio? So we went to the concert that was being advertised on NPR, and I reconnected with Rick after 44 years. And I started coming to all the concerts, and then last year they asked me if I wanted to join the board of directors. So here I am now, and it's just so exciting to be a part of such a wonderful organization that's bringing amazing choral music to San Antonio and the world.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens.
Bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens.
Brown paper packages tied up with string.
These are a few of my favorite things. Cream
Hello, my name is Rob Saldana and I sing baritone for the San Antonio Chamber Choir. Singing has pretty much been in my life since I was a kid. Growing up with my immediate family in the Philippines, I was exposed to different kinds of musical genres, as well as spending time singing karaoke with them. I think one of the very first songs I remember learning as a young child was the song That Thing You Do from the movie of the same name from, I think, 1996. I remember one of my grandmothers singing it to me as a kid, and it kind of just stuck, and I started singing along more and more with her. When I immigrated here in the US in 2007 as a 14-year-old, the choral program at the high school I ended up going to fostered that love for singing, but developed it in a different way. I spent more time learning choral music, and I started to get to it and devote a lot of time doing it. Through this art, I also met some of the best people in my life, some of which are now my lifelong friends. And towards the end of high school, I made the Texas All-State Choir, and that amplified my desire to spend my life furthering this art form. To me, the idea of people sharing a piece of themselves, turning it into a collaborative art form is what drew me to what I do now. In college, through the recommendation of one of my mentors and fellow chamber choir singer, Jen Watley, I auditioned for the San Antonio Chamber Choir and thankfully got in. And from the very first concert I sang to the latest, I always draw inspiration from the people I sing with and the music we make together. I think it's the selflessness that inspires me always, and their giving voices allow me to be just as generous whenever we collaborate. Today, I'm now a choral director at that same high school that fostered my love for choral music, and I cannot be more than humbled to serve this community that raised me. Many of the techniques I use in the classroom come directly out of my mentors and our SACC rehearsals. And my classroom rehearsals are also filled with SACC anecdotes and stories because I think they are inspiring and fun to tell. This song that I will be singing is an art song called Sure on the Shiny Nights. It's a favorite, with music by Samuel Barber and text by James Agee. For me, the song is special because it is one of the first classical solo pieces I have ever heard performed upon joining choir in 2007. I remember one of my fellow choir members sang the song as their solo and ensemble contest piece, and I was stunned then. I thought that the text is fitting, especially with what has happened in the recent times, particularly the line, "The late year lies down to north, all is healed, all is health." It speaks to me of a slow but steady recovery from my favorite art form as time progresses and as we heal from all of what has happened lately. Sadly, I never got to perform it in high school or college, but I am happy to sing it for you now. Sure on this shining night of star-made shadows round, kindness must watch for me this side the ground. The letty lies down the north, all is healed, all Thank you so much for tuning in. We wish you the best.
It's impossible to overestimate William Shakespeare's formidable impact on peoples and cultures throughout the world. Shakespeare's plays, sonnets, and poems have stolen the hearts of even the least likely audiences and readers in every corner of the globe. He has also struck the hearts of countless composers and singers from the Renaissance to the present. Our production in 2019 of Bites, Ballads, and The Bard featured all of that with the help of brilliant actors Alan Ross and Anna Gengai. Here we catch a glimpse of The Tempest in Act 1 with Prospero and Marinda. Then Ralph Vaughan Williams' brilliant musical setting of Full Fathom 5.
If by your art, my dearest father, you have put the wild waters into this roar, allay them, the sky, it seems, would pour down stinking bitch, but that the sea, mounting to the welkin's cheek, dashes the fire out. Oh, I have suffered with those I saw suffer. A brave vessel, which had no doubt some noble creature within her, dashed all to pieces. Oh, the cry did knock against my very heart. Poor souls, he perished. If I had been any god of power, I would have sunk the sea within the earth, or it should the good ship so have swallowed, and the frothtening souls within her.
Be collected. No more amazement. Tell thy piteous heart there's no harm done.
Oh, woe the day!
No harm done. I have by provision of mine art so safely ordered that there is no soul. No, not so much perdition as an hair be tied to any creature in that vessel, which thou heardst cry, which thou saw sing. Sit down. For now you must know further.
You have often begun to tell me what I am, but stopped and left me to a bootless inquisition, concluding, stay, not yet.
12 years since, Miranda, 12 years since, thy father was the Duke of Milan and the Prince of Power.
Sir, I not you, my father?
Well, thy mother was a piece of virtue, and she said thou wast my daughter. And thy father was the Duke of Milan. You, his only heir and princess, no worse is you.
Oh, the heavens! What foul deed perchance came upon us that we came from thence?
Foul deed as thou sayest, that we were heaved thence. My brother, thine uncle, thy foul uncle, dost thou hear me?
Sir, your voice would cure deafness.
Well, mark the condition and the effect, and then tell me if this should be a brother.
I should sin to think but nobly of my grandmother. Good wombs have borne bad sons.
Well, now the condition. The king of Naples, being an enemy to me, inveterate, hearkens my brother's suit, which was that he should presently extirpate me and mine out of the dukedom and confer fair Milan on my brother, whereon a treacherous army levied one midnight, fated to the purpose, did Antonio open the gates of Milan, and in the dead of darkness, ministers for the purpose hurried thence me and thy crying self.
Oh, what trouble was I then to thee?
Oh, that thou wast a cherubim that did preserve me. Oh, thou didst smile, infused with the fortitude from heaven, when I had decked the sea with drops full salt under my burden groaned, which raised in me an undergoing stomach to bear up against what should ensue.
Oh, and the heavens thank thee for it.
And here on this island we have arrived.
So happy to welcome all of you and to be with a wonderful composer and a human being of even more excellence is Sean Kirshner. And Sean is well known throughout the choral world and has written all kinds of music. He writes from his website, he says, after a musical childhood centered on classical piano, improvisation, and choir, Sean Kirshner pursued an alternative path in college, majoring in peace studies with folk music and foreign language capturing his passion. Sean, your illustrious career as a composer and pianist with the Los Angeles Chorale is now extended to choral musicians all over the world. You are famous for so many octavos that have sold millions of scores, and now you have a new oratorio length work called The Light of Hope Returning. Tell us about the genesis for the work and the premiere performance that happened last year.
Okay, well, thank you for that very generous introduction. And I'm sure at least some portion of it is true. I was asked by the Bay Area Women's Choir called Women Sing to write a full-length holiday type piece. But the thing about it that made it an interesting project was they wanted to know if I could model it on behalf of this Swedish project by this really amazing improvising organist called Gunnar Edenstam. And it's called Folk Jul. So like Yule, you know, but they spell it J-U-L, but we spell it Y-U-L-E, Folk Jul. So it's like a folk Christmas. So it's called a Swedish folk Christmas. And what's fascinating about the project is that it combines kind of like a cathedral choir with really cool organ improvisations, some of which sound really avant-garde or like birds chirping, but it also combines it with Swedish folk fiddling and Swedish folk singing. There were two Swedish folk sopranos that sang, and they even end the whole project with this thing called kulning, which is K-U-L-N-I-N-G, which I think is the way of calling the cattle from long distances. It's kind of like their way of greeting, you know, the birth of the child. So it's this folk element that is just this delightful combination of the cathedral choir and these fresh elements. And his arrangements are so inventive. Like there's a silent night and you don't even realize it's silent night until like a good ways into the song. And like, what is that? Oh my gosh, what a beautiful way of making silent night fresh. Anyway, so the conductor of Women Sing is a really interesting guy, Israeli immigrant fellow, bright guy named Ofer Dalal, but he's also been like a Unitarian choir director. So his open-mindedness is large. And he just said, he knew that I had done a lot of folk stuff or, you know, a lot of, he said, Sean can do it. Sean can write the American folk Christmas. So the Swedish folk Christmas, the American folk Christmas, combine some newly written things with improvisation, with maybe fiddle, banjo textures, because my mentor was a banjo player. So I like to play banjo piano. So he just thought, this sounds like Sean would have fun with this. And boy, I have to say, just listening to that album once through, and I totally want to plug that for everybody. It is an absolutely, it'll become your new favorite Christmas album. It is so beautiful. As soon as I listened to the album once through, I said, I want to do this project. So that's where the musical excitement came from. Do you want to ask any questions before I tell the...
It's so interesting. I was thinking about all the things that Grieg picked up in the woods as well, you know, from the Norwegian folk songs that were being played in the kuling, as you called it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just amazing, some amazing parallels. Well, yeah, well, I mean, this aspect of rearranging now, you know, we had a discussion, we were lucky enough to have you at the first concert of our 1920 season, I'm trying to remember now, Great American Folk Song book.
Yeah, in September of, I think, 2019, right? The 1920 season.
Your wonderful Stephen Foster setting was just amazing. And I find it remarkable when you think about taking a work that you've specifically written for women, and you said, yes, we could redo this for mixed chorus and for chorus and for some men and all of that. And beyond the impetus to have maybe more opportunities to perform, what else has motivated you to think in that realm?
Yeah, well, yeah, this is a good segue to get back into the meaning side that I wanted to also kind of talk about, because I talked about the musical inspiration. The meaning side is interesting because what you're asking puts the finger right on the issue here. I was really inspired to write a women-centered piece for all kinds of reasons. Also, we were in the middle of the Trump era. So no one is ever going to equate Trump with women-centeredness in a good way. Maybe in a objectifying way, but never in a good way. So for me, the piece, and also we've been in the age of strongmen like Putin and Chavez and just Erdogan in Turkey. I mean, this whole phenomenon of why are tough guys winning again? Like, I thought we were past that. And so to write a piece that's women-centered at a time like that was very, very important to me, to have a chance to express that. And I wanted to be able to think about the wisdom of an older woman and everything she knows about life. And also, I mean, stereotypically, but think about other-centeredness goes along with being a mother. If you become a mother, you become other-centered. And don't we want to entrust the great decisions of life to people who are other-centered rather than that are self-centered? So just the idea that the wisdom of a experienced woman who's seen life, that's what I wanted to give in this work. And I wanted her to be the one offering comfort. And so it became a combined Christmas, New Year's, and solstice piece. And all of the imagery works together so beautifully because the child, the new life, is in a way similar to the rebirth of the sun. And also the rebirth of the year. The old year is dying, the new year is coming. So all three of these holidays just work perfectly together in terms of just the resonance of the images. And the way that this woman just wants to gather in the audience and welcome them, no matter what you're going through. I've seen it all. I know that people go through absolutely everything. You're welcome here. And we're going to just sit here together for an hour. And then I'm going to send you on your way into the new year. And I want you to come back again next year. So the final movement of the piece is basically, fare ye well, come what may, but meet me in the morning. Meet me at the turning of the year. She invites them to come back next year already. Come and tell me what it was like. What was this year like for you? What did you face? What did you go through? It's all okay. And so because of the amount of realism I wanted to acknowledge, like what humans go through, it changes how you hear the Christmas pieces. Because, you know, is a Christmas concert going to be all sweetness and light? Or is it going to also realize, yeah, darkness is a part of the human condition, going through darkness. And because of the solstice element that was coming in, it enabled me to explore more of those levels of things that are kind of hidden in the carols. So like, for example, Coventry Carol becomes a more important piece. And I actually have two Coventry carols in the piece. Because we start off with the image of the star and the promised hope and then the nativity, but then there's the idea that you're challenged. The new life is challenged, just like Jesus's early life was threatened by Herod, by the tyrant. There's a tyrant in the land who is threatening the life and is threatening our future. I mean, believe me, I was putting myself into this piece as well. But Coventry Carol is about that. Coventry Carol is about, how do we get this child away to safety? O sisters too, what may we do for to preserve this day, this poor young thing of whom we sing? And really, it's actually the analogous metaphor of the midwives, the Hebrew midwives, shepherding Mozart, shepherding Moses to safety. The Hebrew midwives, this is the same image, the women coming together to save the child from harm until it's safe to return. So there's a line I invented some readings and also gathered some women's poetry. And one of the ones, I asked the famous novelist Susan Cooper to participate as a writer, and we used some of her lyrics, which are just fantastic. In fact, The Light of Hope Returning is from a Susan Cooper carol lyric. I asked her to write an additional one, and she said she was too busy writing her own novel. She's 85 and she's too busy writing a novel. So I had to do it myself, but there's a line that I included is, but come you back, little child, when the fox is gone, meaning Herod the fox. And then we will move forward together. So there's this realism in the piece, but also this hope is like, yeah, we go through a lot of stuff. And sometimes all you can do is preserve what life can be preserved until the storm is past, and then you move forward. So it's like a Christmas piece for grown-ups. And I'm really excited about it. I would love to talk about every single movement, but you'll have to stop me.
Share a little bit of what you did with the Coventry Carol. I think that would.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I had already set Coventry Carol to an original melody. So here's a weird story. I was once on a peace. You mentioned peace studies earlier on. I was once on a peace studies trip to Brazil, and we were supposed to go out and meet with an indigenous group, but they had had a death in their tribe. And it just so happened that they had a 40-day ritual. So we couldn't meet with them. But we were housed in like a nearly abandoned convent. And it was the most unusual place. It was mostly just empty rooms. Like imagine like a dusty old dining hall that would have at one time been thriving, but now is just those like wooden, benches and tables like at camp. Yeah. Stacked on each other on the off season. But it was this echoey room. Oh, and they also had a garden with 5 scarlet macaws in it. I mean, just this amazing place that made your imagination start going crazy. And there was a beautiful oil painting on the wall of the dining hall of Jesus and John, the beloved disciple, at like the Last Supper. And I don't know, it was just a beautiful painting. And the acoustics, I had brought my tin whistle as the only instrument I had on the trip. So I made up a melody on the spot. So it was wordless for a long time, but eventually I put a psalm text to it, but I also realized that Coventry Carol, Lule, thou tiny child, bye bye, Lule, bye bye, Lule, etc. So that's one of the Coventry Carols in the piece, but then the other one is with the original tune, but bluegrass dance number. So, oh my gosh, this one is so fun. So I play hammered dulcimer on this one, and then we've got like fiddle.
You got
so
about instruments, I think, that are going to be a part of that.
Yeah, I'll play just a few bars of that one because it's really fun.
Only you can put that tune to bluegrass. Only
oh
you.
My gosh. Oh, I had so much fun writing that. I was improvising one day and I got on a roll. And I realized that you can divide that melody metrically differently. So instead of being like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, I realized that you could morph it into 1, 2, 3. The canon 1, 2, 3. It really builds, but I'll let you come to the concert to see what happens. But anyway, yeah, I had so much fun writing that piece. Oh, I loved writing this entire piece. Oh my gosh, so much fun.
Back to your 2020 performance. I loved how you put the visuals, making it a virtual event.
Yeah, we had to kind of improvise because of the pandemic.
Yeah, really stunning. How do you plan to bring that to life on stage in a live format? What are your thoughts about?
You mean those existing visuals.
Well, that, and also with our performers, with our singers.
Yeah, okay. Well, we ended up collaborating with Electro Women's Choir in Vancouver to create that virtual choir thing. And they want to actually do a live performance if possible. I know Canada's having problems with the virus right now. They want to actually project Kevork Murad's artwork.
Wow.
But with San Antonio Chamber Choir, I'm envisioning a whole different thing. And in all honesty, I'm super excited about staging possibilities, because we haven't seen a live concert forever. But there's so much energy in this piece, bringing in the men. Because, for example, here's my imagination of the main opening movement. The women kind of start off the piece, and the matriarch welcomes, "How have you come this night?" And the women echo, "How have you come this night? Robed in shadow or robed in light? Welcome here." Anyway, the men come in on verse 2 of the title number, and I want them to, I'm imagining them coming in like they're going to deck the hall, because the second verse of Susan Cooper's carol is, "From spruce and pine and fir tree tall, green branches now will deck our hall. The holly and the mistletoe gleam red as blood and white as snow." I kind of imagine the women have already processed in a solemn way, and then the sprightly carol comes, and then I kind of want the men just to burst through on verse 2 that no one's expecting them, and they bring in this whole different energy. So I love the idea of including men in this piece. A little bit later in the first half, there's a reading that Susan Cooper wrote called The Shepherd. Now, ironically, I don't know if anyone has heard of the Christmas Revels. The Christmas Revels was this kind of pageant festival thing that got invented like in 1970 at Harvard and spread across the country. But Susan Cooper was living in Massachusetts at the time. I grew up reading her award-winning books, children's books like The Dark is Rising and stuff like that. But anyway, she was their librettist. So that's why she had created some of these carol lyrics. And she would also write readings for those programs. Well, she when I reached out to her to see if she could collaborate with me, she sent me a bunch of readings, including, she said, this one, "Sean, this one is so gloomy that they would never use it for the revels." And I'm like, okay, perfect for us. Because we wanted ours to be the real losses that people experience. So there's a reading called The Shepherd, where a lamb has a sickly lamb has not made it through. And there's a little twist where the shepherd, well, I don't want to give away the twist, but a blessing comes out of the misfortune. And it leads right into Rocking Carol, which I had arranged for the LA Master Chorale men, actually. But I translated it into a women's piece for this project. I took an existing carol arrangement I had because it fits so perfectly into the storyline. So this is actually returning to what it had already been. It had started off as a men's piece. So it's getting to become a men's piece again. But see, the other thing that's really important for me of the men's involvement is, what path are men going to choose? Are you going to be a tyrant kind of man? Or are you going to be a shepherd, a nurturing man? You know, husband is a verb. To husband means to care for. So for me, this piece has always had images of men in it as well. The image of the good, the shepherd kind of man, and the image of the tyrant. So for me to have men in the room and singing these songs is actually perfect, because we all have to create the future together that's more in balance and brings out the best qualities in everybody. So I love having men on the project. They're going to some of the movements they get for themselves, and then they're just going to add a whole bunch of color and quality to the other places as well.
Maybe we should sort of wrap this up with just the question, what do you hope to have the audience leave with when we depart wherever we're performing in December? And we're looking at doing this almost on Solstice Day, I think December 22nd or something to that nature. I think this Christmas experience. I mean, I'm so excited about it as a conductor of the work, to bring it to life in San Antonio and have Texas premiere in this Christmas season. But what do you hope that people take away from and use in their own lives?
Yeah, for me, I really feel like there's a lot of catharsis in the work. And because we've gone through a lot, but we're making it through. And that's really what this piece is about. We've gone through this period of darkness, if you will, but the light is reemerging. We are coming out of our homes and we're resuming life. The old year that has held us is giving way to a new year, a new time. So I really hope that people feel that in a really deep way, this piece mirrors their own life. There's a piece called Holy World that comes right at the peak that I wrote after the death of my mom in very tragic circumstances, but my nephew was born right after that. And so we knew that we were a family that was experiencing the worst that life has to give and also the best that life has to give. So the refrain of that song is, holy world, where sorrows are turning with joy. Holy world, sorrows are turning with joy. So we're coming through this, and yeah, we've had a lot of sorrow, but our joy is still alive. We've kept the flame alive and we can let it grow again. So I hope people find it supremely cathartic. I think they will. Very joyful, but also very real, honoring their real experience. So I cannot wait to share it with people, and I'm super excited to come back and work with you and San Antonio Chamber Choir again. I think you guys are such a perfect group to be the ones bringing this new version in.
Well, the Light of Hope Returning will be with us in December of this year. We're looking at December 21st and 22nd. We'll be having more details as we move forward. But Sean Kirshner, you are one of the really, truly authentic voices in America that speaks a truth that is profound, straight to the heart, and moves me personally a great, great deal. So thanks for taking the time today to be with us.
Rick, thank you so much. Anytime is so great to be with you and to talk with you and to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Megan Iden, and I've been singing soprano with the San Antonio Chamber Choir since about 2010. And I'm really excited about this opportunity to get to sing again after having an absence of a whole year. And I'm really excited about the possibility of getting together again with everybody soon in person so that we can enjoy the wonderful music that the San Antonio Chamber Choir contributes to our community. Music has always been really important in my life. I've sung from the time that I was a little girl and played the piano all the way through high school, college, adulthood, and taught choir for about 10 years. And I've always felt that there are certain truths about life that you can only convey through music and singing. And so I feel like it's really important for us to do everything that we can to keep music and the arts alive in San Antonio. Today I'm going to sing for you Zdez Korosho, which is a Russian song by composer Rachmaninoff. And I'll give you a short translation. All is well here. Look, in the distance, the river glows like fire. The meadows are like a colorful carpet, and there's the whiteness of clouds. There's nobody here. All is quiet. Here I am alone with God, and the flowers, and the old pine, and you, my dream.
My name is Joseph Heron, and I'm a singer in the San Antonio Chamber Choir. I began singing as a very young child in church, and I didn't really pursue singing or join a choir until I was in high school. What happened was I joined my community choir, the San Antonio Choral Society, and fell in love with the human aspect and the relationships and just the energy behind being in such a large choir. Because of that, I ended up going and auditioning at UTSA, graduating with my music education degree in vocal music and everything. And now I am currently an elementary music teacher for Northside Independent School District at Thornton Elementary. What makes San Antonio Chamber Choir different and how I think it positively affects me and the community around us is simply just the difference in what this group can do and what we provide that is exceptional and different from everything else. When you come to a San Antonio Chamber Choir, I think you are presented with something new, something you've never heard before, maybe something you've never seen before, and I think that is incredible for the music community here in San Antonio. Today I'll be singing Pescador de Hombres, or Lord, You Have Come to the Lakeshore. This piece, written by Andrew Lloyd, is a profound example and arrangement of a traditional hymn. This hymn is sung in both Spanish and English, and in Dr. Lloyd's arrangement, it is presented in both, where you have verses in English and then in the Spanish text. Now, what is extraordinary about this piece specifically, in this arrangement, is the combination of how the piano and the voice work together. It's almost like a duet, where the solo voice is much like a human, walking through life praying to God, and the piano accompaniment and how it associates with the voice is almost like God's voice, following along and supporting and adding its own beauty and creation to the piece. So here is Pescador de Hombres, and I hope you enjoy.
Was smiling, have spoken my name. Now my boat's left on the shoreline behind me. By your side, I will seek other seas. My hands full of caring, through my labors to give others rest, and constant love that keeps on loving. Me has mirado a los ojos y sonriendo, y sonriendo, y sonriendo, has dicho mi nombre. Now my boat's left on the shoreline behind me. By your side, I will seek other
Hello, I'm Christian Dela Cruz.
And I'm Audrey Dela Cruz.
And people call us the DLCs. We've been choir directors here in San Antonio for 10 years now. I teach at Reagan High School.
And I teach at Bush Middle School.
And we've been singing with SACC for how long?
About 9 years, like right after we started teaching.
And what's one of your favorite memories about SACC?
I think probably the one that sticks out in my mind the most is one of the holiday concerts we performed at one of the missions down in the Mission Reach area. And I think it was probably one of our very first concerts with SACC. And I just remember that feeling of not only just singing in that beautiful space, but singing with the people in San Antonio Chamber Choir at that time. It was just a really beautiful experience and exactly what I felt like I needed.
Coming out of college, you sing every single day as a music major, and then you go into teaching, and nobody ever tells you this, but you don't sing as much, and there's this void missing. And being surrounded with that caliber of musician and seeing such beautiful literature in those beautiful spaces, it's just been an absolute blessing in our lives all these years.
Yeah, and I think being able to just really hone in on your own inner artist when you're used to just giving so much to your students, it's just really nice to fill that cup back up.
And choir has always been a huge part of our lives. We actually met in choir in high school. We're high school sweethearts.
Yes, and we have been singing together since 2003. We met on the set of The Wizard of Oz.
I was a scarecrow.
And I was a munchkin.
Yeah.
And we just have been in choir together ever since, and he's my favorite singing buddy for sure.
And our family has grown here in San Antonio. We have a 6-year-old daughter. Her name is Rose, and we have 2 cats, and my mom actually lives with us now. So it's a one big happy family here, and there's always music in our households. There's a ton of singing. And we've because of San Antonio, this community, and because of the San Antonio Chamber Choir, we just absolutely love what we're able to do.
So today we're going to be singing and playing a song called It's Been a Long, Long Time, which made its more recent premiere.
Yeah, I think most people now, or at least our students, know the song by its... in the Marvel movie Endgame, just some forewarning, some spoilers here. At the very end of that movie, Captain America finally travels back in time to be with the love of his life, Agent Peggy Carter. And so they are dancing. The camera pans into their living room, and they're dancing to this song performed by Harry James, the trumpeter Harry James, and his orchestra. That's probably the most famous recording, and the vocalist
Kitty Callan.
Yeah.
I think Helen Forrest also did one with him. But it's kind of like Captain America's theme song for a lot of his movies, really.
Right.
But World War II, it premiered in 1945, right at the end of World War II, and that era of music plays a big part in my life. My grandpa was a Marine during World War II and fought in notable battles like Iwo Jima and Guadalcanal. And he was a big influence to me. And so that kind of music was always around when I was growing up. And one really fun story about my pawpaw, my grandpa, when he was, after Guadalcanal, he was sent back to LA for some R&R. And he was at the Paradise Cafe, a club. And he was an older Marine. He was already in his 30s. So he was looking to settle down right after the war and all that stuff. So he wasn't out there on the dance floor trying to dance with all the girls. But one beautiful young lady came to ask him to dance. It wasn't my grandma, but it's okay. And so he and this beautiful woman were dancing, and the band that was playing that evening at the Paradise Cafe was the Glenn Miller Orchestra. And they were playing Stardust. And while he and this young woman were dancing, he was, the romantic at heart, singing while he was dancing. And after the song was over, this young woman walked up on stage and tapped Glenn Miller on the shoulder and told him that this Marine needed to sing on the stage. Well, lo and behold, this young woman was actually actress Hedy Lamarr. And so my grandpa got on stage and sang Stardust with Glenn Miller. So it's been a long, long time. It's really special. And one Christmas, Christian here got a ukulele, and with it came a book. And lo and behold, that song was in the book. And so we kind of put it together.
We decided, it'd be appropriate for us to sing a duet with this, and we were practicing it to get ready for this video. And all of a sudden, our daughter jumped up next in between us and started playing some notes on the piano. And she's been taking piano lessons recently. And it totally fit. She was just noodling, jazz improvising on the piano. And so we decided to include it in the video. We hope that this performance brings as much joy to your family as it has to ours. And we just want to say thank you to Rick Biela and the San Antonio Chamber Choir Board for being such a wonderful beacon of light in the San Antonio community, and we hope that it continues for many years to come. Enjoy.
Hello, my name is Rose, and this is my family. And today we're going to be playing It's Been a Long, Long Time.
Just kiss me once, then kiss me twice, then kiss me once again. It's been a long, long time. Haven't felt like this, my dear, since can't remember when. It's been a long, long time. You'll never know how many dreams I dreamed about you, or just how empty they all seemed without you. So kiss me once, then kiss me twice, then kiss me once again. It's been a long, long time. Just kiss me once and kiss me twice and kiss me once again. It's been a long, long time. Haven't felt like this, my dear, since can't remember when. It's been a long, long time. You'll never know how many dreams I dreamed about you, or how empty they all seem without you. So kiss me once and kiss me twice and kiss me once again. It's been a long, long time.
In our 2019 concert called Footsteps of Love, we explore the many avenues and ways to express that love. One was through our American premiere of Footsteps by the brilliant English contemporary composer, Owain Parks. He states, "Footsteps is the result of many months of researching texts to structure a narrative that cycles the seasons through the view of a lonely traveler who is constantly being moved on before being allowed to settle, finding comfort in the sky and stars above. With texts from such disparate sources as Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Thomas Harding, and Princess Shikashi, as well as some 10 others, it created an incredible journey with the Children's Chorus of San Antonio. Another one was through Jake Runested's brilliant setting called Come to the Woods, with words from the writing of the great conservationists, John Muir. The beginning of the work starts with these words, "Another glorious day, the air as delicious to the lungs as nectar to the tongue." Later in the work we hear, "The sounds of the storm were glorious with wild exuberance of light and motion." And finally, "The setting sun filled them with amber light and seemed to say, come to the woods, for here is rest. Our thanks to Faith DeBow for brilliant playing on this transcendent work.
Another glorious day. Another glorious day. As delicious to thy heart as nectar to the sun. Another glorious day. Another glorious day. Another glorious day. A day was full of sparkling sunshine, and at the same time most graceful and strong.
Hi, my name is Lydia Beasley, and I'm a proud member of the San Antonio Chamber Choir. Music has always been an important part of my life. Both my parents are professional musicians, and so I grew up experiencing the sights and the sounds of choir rehearsals, opera performances, and voice lessons. I'm a voice instructor at Trinity University. I'm also a staff singer at St. Mark's Episcopal in downtown San Antonio, and I maintain a private studio of both voice and piano students. SACC has provided a wonderful opportunity to network with fellow musicians in the area, and an entire choir of paid professionals is just all too rare these days. So I consider myself incredibly lucky to be making music with this talented group of people under the direction of Rick Biella. So I will be singing for you the Villa Lied from Merry Widow. The titular character of this opera is entertaining party guests at her house, and she's singing this song as a form of entertainment. The song itself is about a mythical creature, Villa, and a woodsman who has fallen under her spell and is singing about his love for her and her beauty. There are also images of Trinity's campus inserted into this video, so please enjoy those, and I hope that you can imagine yourself at this party as well. Thank you so much for supporting the San Antonio Chamber Choir.
To help celebrate our 2018 season finale and tell more fully the story of the 400th year anniversary of San Antonio's existence, we commissioned James Ballantyne to write Fragments of Time and Place. We featured music representing Czech, Polish, Slovenian, Mexican, Latvian, French, German, Jewish, Greek, Scandinavian, and Spanish cultures, which all make up San Antonio. Here we experience a river song, text and music by the brilliant San Antonio composer and arranger, James Ballantyne.
Hi, my name is Adrienne Pajati-Bingman, and I am so happy to be here singing for this Sing for Life fundraising event for the San Antonio Chamber Choir. I started singing in choirs when I was in middle school. Actually, it was before that. It was like elementary school. I went to the Jensen's Yamaha Music School in San Antonio, and I learned piano and a little bit of piano, and I sung in a lot of choirs with other kids, and it just really helped foster my love of music. And then I actually didn't sing in choir when I was in high school. For some reason, I wasn't interested in that. I sang in church, but not in school. But then after I went to college, I decided I really needed choir back in my life. So I took up singing in as many different choirs as I possibly could. And I've just held on for dear life. Choir is like my bread and butter, you know. It's something that makes me feel whole and good. I just have to have choral music in my life. I started singing with the San Antonio Chamber Choir in 2016, and I have just developed so much as a musician being in this group. Rick has such incredible programming, and you know, we're not held into one tiny box. We perform lots of different styles, different eras, and not just Western music, you know, but music from many different traditions. And that brings me to the song that I am going to perform next for you, which is a traditional Mexican folk song called Las Amarillas, and it was arranged by Stephen Hatfield. And this is a song that is in the style of a huapango, which is from southern Mexico. And the lyrics are kind of strange. They're not like altogether, they don't altogether make sense. But I think that's the idea of it. The idea is more about how the words sound rather than what they mean. For example, the very end talks about everybody has their own farewell, but there's none like this one. 4 times 5 is 20, 3 times 7 is 21. So it's just sort of like, huh? But it's just a fun song because it's so vibrant and curious. So I hope you enjoy it. And if you do, please go ahead and give a gift to San Antonio Chamber Choir so that we can continue our vision for the 2021-2022 season. We appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Marías la tira, na na no. Marías la tira, na na no. La 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 tira, na 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 na. La 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 tira, na 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 no. La 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 tira, na 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 na. La 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 tira, na na no. Volaron las amarillas, cantantes de los nopales, ya no cantarán alegres los pájaros cardenales. A la tira, na na na. A la tira, na na no. Ya no cantarán alegres los pájaros cardenales. Árboles de la ladera, porque van la piedra así. Por eso cantan las cantan, o las apachuran al nido. A la tira, na na na. A la tira, na na no. Por eso cantan las cantan, o las apachuran al nido. Eres chiquita bonita, y si no eres de dinero, ahora sí sos rosita. Tienes costas de guerrero. A la tira, na na na. A la tira, na na no. Ahora sí sos rosita. Tienes costas de guerrero. Na 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 no. Na 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 no. Na 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 no. Na 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 Volaron los amarillos, cantantes de los nopales, todos están su despedida, pero como están ningunes, a la tira, na na na, a la tira, na na na. 4 por 5 son 20, 3 por 7 son 21. 4 por 5 son 20, 3 por 7 son 21. 4 por 5 son 20, 3 por 7 son 21. 4 por 5 son 20, 3 por 7 son 21. Na 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 na
was Las Amarillas, arranged by Stephen Hatfield. I hope you enjoyed it. I always love singing that song. I was introduced to it by Rick from a concert that we performed back in April 2018, and it was just so much fun. And I've been searching for a way to perform that piece again, but I haven't gotten a chance to do that, so I was so happy to do it, bring it back for this performance. My next piece that I'm going to perform is, I learned about it in a similar way. We performed this, I think this maybe was back in 2016 or 2017, but it's one of my favorites, and it's so hauntingly beautiful, and I love it so much. It's a lullaby called Duérmete apegado a mí by Alberto Grau, who's a Venezuelan composer and choral conductor. And it uses poetry by Gabriela Mistral, who is a Latin American female poet. And it's this beautiful sort of rocking, lullaby that has these traditional sort of Spanish sounding harmonies, and so it's sweet and beautiful, but it's also not totally comfortable. There's this yearning, this unease, and you can sort of hear that in the final verse, which says, with all I have lost, now I'm afraid to sleep. Don't slip from my arm, go to sleep next to me. And I think it's very beautiful, and I think that it ends well, of course. I have to hope that it ends well, but it's just so gorgeous, and I hope you really enjoy it. So thank you again for watching, and thank you so much to Rick for putting all this gorgeous music into my brain, and for introducing me to something that gives my life such joy. I really, really appreciate all the music and all the memories. So thank you. Please give a gift if you can. We really, really appreciate it. Thanks.
Milloncito de mi carne, que en mi entraña yo tejí. Milloncito friolento, duérmete apegado a mí. La perdiz duerme en el trébol, escuchándole latir. No te turben mis llantos, duérmete apegado a mí. Duermecita temblorosa, asombrada de vivir. No te sueltes de mi pecho, duérmete apegado a mí. Yo que todo lo he perdido, ahora tiemblo de dormir. No resbales de mi brazo, duérmete apegado a mí. Duerme
Hi, my name is Mary Cowart, and I'm a member of the San Antonio Chamber Choir. I've been singing with the group since 2006. I'm also a high school choir director. I teach at Reagan High School here in San Antonio. I've been here since the school opened in 1999, first as a voice teacher, then as an assistant director, and now as the head director. I can definitely say that my time with the chamber choir has been a blessing, not only for me personally, a great outlet to sing wonderful music, to find fulfillment in sharing that music, working with all the people that I have had the chance to work with over the years. However, it has also been a big part of my professional life in the things that I can bring back to my school, to my students. Things that I've learned under the direction of Scott McPherson and Rick Biella, who've been our artistic directors. Things I've learned from working with the other singers and collaborating with them. Music we've performed. Things that I've been able to share with my students. So all of this has been a huge part of my life now for many, many years. And so grateful for it. And we're hoping that our group is going to be able to continue after this pandemic, and that we're going to be able to get back to those live performances and those opportunities to share our music. I was going to take a chance to just tell you a little bit more about me. So I grew up down on the coast of Texas. My mother was a singer, and so I grew up listening to her sing. She said by the time I was 18 months old, I would be able to sing hymns, all the verses of hymns from church, without, any difficulty. As a child, I was given a toy piano as a Christmas gift, and I loved to play on that thing. It was a very, very, I remember it being just such a special gift, and I loved it. I loved directing the singing when we would have, family sing-along time and different events like that. So from a very early age, music was a big, big part of my life. And I can say I came by it in many ways very naturally, but I was also blessed to have parents who supported me in that. When I went into middle school, I joined band. Being in a small town, there really wasn't much offered there in the way of choir or singing. But band, of course, was pretty well established. So I played the flute and got to learn how to do that, of course, all those years too, taking piano lessons. High school, I even got to take some organ lessons so I could start playing at church. So music was definitely a big thing. When I went off to college, everyone just thought I'd major in music. Well, I didn't at first. I started working on a science degree. But eventually decided I couldn't live without music in my life. So I added it as a second major, actually completed both degrees, and then went on for a master's of music in vocal performance. Started teaching voice and eventually came back to choral singing and the opportunity to be a choral conductor, so for which I'm very grateful. So that's a little bit about me. Like I said, music's been a big part of my life, so we hope you will support us in that. I've been asked to sing a song for you. So a lot of deliberation about what to sing. I'm going to sing the song I'll Be Seeing You. It was written in 1938 by Irving Kahal and Sammy Fain. It was very popular during the 40s, during World War II. And I love this song. I've always loved this song. It's been recorded by many great singers. Billie Holiday, Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra. So I just, it's always been one of those classic songs that I've loved. So I'm going to share that with you in a minute. But before I do, I wanted to share, I came across this blog, a singer named Laurel Massey, and she made such a good point in her blog about singing. And she said, "Why sing? There are many possible answers. For me, the easiest answer has been that I sing because I cannot do otherwise." And when I first read this, I just connected with that. It's like, I cannot do otherwise. But I like the last part of what she says here. She says, "I believe with all my heart that I am called. That is my gift, my obligation, my responsibility to sing, to express that which cannot be expressed in words alone, in the company of others. The good songs speak of our shared human experiences, and if I am doing my very best, there is nothing that divides us into performer and performed for. Rather, we are just us, and I happen to be the one carrying the melody at that moment as we go along. There are many others doing the same, a family, a community of song. When I am gone, someone else will pick up the melody, as I also believe I am part of a lineage. We'll all keep going along, for humans are born to sing, and that will never end." And I said, when I came across this blog, it spoke to me. This idea that, right now it's my opportunity to pick up the melody, to be a part of this lineage, this family, and there will be others to pick it up after I'm gone, just as I have received it from those who've gone before me. Again, I think about my mom and all those years of singing and loving music that came from her. You know, my dad wasn't a singer, but he loved music. He loved good music. And so I was fortunate to be raised by parents that exposed me to all kinds of great music. And I'm grateful for that. I love that. When I am gone, someone else will pick up the melody. So for me, that's why. Grateful to be a part of this heritage, this history. Like I said, I'm going to sing for you. I'll be singing you. And it's, like I said, just a great song, one that I've always loved. It speaks to me. And here we go. Thanks for listening to me today. Thanks for the continued support, and we'll see you later.
J.S. Bach's amazing contribution and exquisite messages are perhaps best displayed in these three short excerpts from three major works of Bach. The breathtaking onset of Omnes Generationes in the center of his remarkably compact Magnificat clearly communicates that all generations will indeed call him blessed, with every entry proclaiming this on a new, ever-rising pitch. Bach's final contribution to the B minor Mass was the Et Incarnatus Est, written just 1 year before his death in 1749, when he was nearly deaf himself. It expertly displays the transformation from the divine to human form in the arpeggiated descending triad of an octave, symbolizing the Savior's journey from heaven to earth, but also in the rising octave arpeggio on et homo factus est, and was made man. The symbolism of the Trinity is clearly heard in the final phrase with a three-part canon between the violin, cello, and piano. The Alleluia from Zinget dem Herrn is perhaps the most joyful fugue ever written, expressing the reality that all that hath breath and life shall praise the Lord. Finally rising to a high A in the soprano, just 2 measures before finishing, to truly exclaim this truth.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Jorns. I am a bass 2 in the San Antonio Chamber Choir, and I've been with this ensemble since 2017. I have been in choirs since the 6th grade. I've played in band as a saxophonist, I play the piano, and I met my wife in the Texas Tech Choir. Rick Biella was actually one of my professors at Tech as a senior and again as a graduate student. So when he asked me to join this group, I couldn't say no. Little did I know that the musicianship was just oozing with talent. The community outreach is fantastic, and the repertoire choices are just so captivating. This has been a real treat for me to be a part of this group. Today, I will be performing an art song called Silent Noon by Rafe Vaughan Williams. Enjoy.
Your hands I open in the long fresh grass. Your finger points look through like rosy blooms. Your eyes smile peace. The pasture gleams and glooms 'neath billowing skies that scatter and amass. All round our nest, far as the eye can pass, are golden king-cup fields with silver edge, where the cow parsley skirts the hawthorn hedge. 'Tis visible silence, still as the hourglass. Deep in the sunset's growth, the dragonfly hangs like a blue thread loosened from the sky. So this winged hour is dropped to us from above. Oh, clasp we to our hearts for deathless star, this close companion inarticulate hour, when twofold silence was the song. The song of
Everyone has a story about the mystery of Christmas, and lots of people have used that as their story for any number of concerts. But to have a mystery of Christmas with the jazz protagonists, that's an unusual story. So we did. And here we will hear Barry Brake's wonderful arrangement of the great For Unto Us a Child is Born from the Messiah.
my name is Anna Osterman. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight, and thank you so much for your support of the San Antonio Chamber Choir. I am a San Antonio native, born and raised, and I come from a musical family. My dad plays the trumpet, my mom plays the piano, my sister was in band, and I was the choir girl. So we got an eclectic musical family, and I always knew that music was something that I loved. From elementary, middle school, high school, music was always my passion. Choir was my niche, and it was always where I was happiest and always where my friends were, everything. And I knew that it was something that I wanted to pursue. I went to Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Texas, Recom Tech, and came right back to San Antonio afterwards with my degree in music education and started teaching at a high school here in San Antonio right off the bat. And I have just so enjoyed teaching choir and sharing my passion for music and singing with high school students. And it's been just so fantastic to be able to share that and instill that and be a part of that journey with these students. It's been so important for me to be a part of the San Antonio Chamber Choir because it puts me back in the singer's position. As a teacher and as a choir director, I am always on the other side. I'm behind the podium. And so this gives me the opportunity to be in their shoes a little bit more and have their experience and just to come at things from a different lens. I feel like it's professional development every single time I'm there. It renews my passion for music. It invigorates me and it challenges me on different levels and just keeps my cup full while I'm trying to pour into my students constantly. And it's been such a godsend for me. Tonight I am going to be singing for you Monty Python's Spamalot's, the song that goes like this. It's pretty self-explanatory, and I just decided we needed a little bit of comedic relief tonight. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you again for your support of the San Antonio Chamber Choir. Have a wonderful night. Once in every show, there comes a song like this. It starts out soft and low and ends up with a kiss. Oh, where is the song that goes like this? Where is it? It couldn't be. A sentimental song that casts a magic spell. They all will hum along, will overact as well, for this is the song that goes like this. Now we can go straight into the middle eight, a bridge that is too far for me. I'll sing it in your face while we both embrace, and then we change the key. Now we're into E. That's awfully high for me, but everyone can see we should have stayed in D, for this is the song that goes like this. I can't believe there's more. It's far too long, I'm sure. That's the trouble with this song. It goes on and on and on. For this is the song that is too long. We'll be singing this till dawn. You'll wish that you were born. Let's forget this old refrain before we go insane. The song always ends like this.
Sometimes one piece inspires us to tell our entire story. And that is the case with Only in Sleep. The brilliant composer Eric Eschenwalds has set this Sarah Teasdale poem in stunning fashion. We explore throughout the performance how dreams work in our lives. Dreams of fear, of love lost, of childhood fantasy. Dreams of faith, of despair, of beauty, of dance and of peace, and so much more. Here is Only in Sleep with Heather Cole, soloist.
Only in sleep I see their faces, children I played with when I was a child. Laura comes back with her brown hair braided, Annie with ringlets warm
Hi, my name is Rick Novak, and I joined the San Antonio Chamber Choir in 2010 under Scott McPherson, and then continued with Rick Biella, and it's a wonderful experience for me. I've been asked to share my thoughts on singing, kind of my story, and I'm from San Antonio. I went to Madison High School, and I'm an Air Force brat, so I wasn't born in San Antonio, but I went to high school there. And anyways, I didn't sing until my junior year in high school. I needed a fine arts credit at Madison, and I couldn't be in the band, couldn't draw. And so there was a really cute girl in my geometry class who happened to be in choir, and I was speaking with her one day, and she said, well, why don't you try out for choir? So I went and sang for the choir director, and he said, yeah, you've got a nice voice. And he handed me a permission slip, and I brought it home, and I handed it to my dad, and I said, Dad, I want to join the choir. And he said, son, you can't sing. So he would not sign my permission slip. He thought it'd be a waste of time. So what was the guy to do? I brought the same permission slip to my mom, and she said, oh, my baby wants to join the choir. So she signed the permission slip and said, you can do anything you put your mind to. So as soon as I got into choir, I realized I was really far behind all the other singers in there. So the choir director, whose name was Dennis Pitcock, told me I should take voice lessons. And so I wasn't really interested. I just wanted to get my one semester fine arts credit out of the way. Long story short, there was a new voice teacher to the school. His name was Mark Puente. And so he gave me a free voice lesson, and I decided to keep going back for more. And I went from being in the pretty much non-auditioned men's choir to being in their top varsity choir and the show choir, like right away, basically. And then I happened to, horrible event, I tore my knee playing football, and I really poured more of my effort at that point into choir and into singing, and it was kind of a godsend. It's one of those things throughout my life where I just think he was tapping me on the shoulder saying, I want you to go this way. So I poured my heart and soul into music for the first time in my life, and it started paying off. And then I went and saw an opera, saw Don Pasquale at Austin Lyric Opera. And it wasn't really caught on opera at that time. And then I went to Houston Grand Opera to see Turandot. And as soon as I heard the tenor sing Nessun Dorma, I said, I want to do that with my life. And so I went to school, got a bachelor's degree in vocal performance and a master's degree in vocal performance and a doctorate in music performance and vocal performance, and sung with opera companies around the country and overseas, and taught at several universities. I'm in my office right now at Texas State. I love what I do. There's not a day that goes by when I'm not opening my mouth singing somehow. And I've also been involved with church music and music ministries throughout my years since I've graduated. And I've had the awesome opportunity to sing with San Antonio Chamber Choir. And it's been one of the highlights of my career, actually, in making music with that group. There's something that I don't get as a soloist that I do get, and feel very fulfilled when I sing with a group and we lock in chords and tuning, and it's just wonderful to make music with other singers. So I hope to join the choir again pretty soon. I'm pretty busy on the tenure track here at Texas State, but I hope to make music with my friends in the San Antonio Chamber Choir in the very near future. So yeah, my students have benefited from my time in the chamber choir. So I share stories with them all the time about performances that we did and things I learned in rehearsals. And so the choir's in very good hands with Rick Biella. He's just one of the nicest people I've ever met, but he's a very serious musician, and he's got some of the best ears in the business. And he would often say things to the group. I'd be like, well, I didn't hear that. And then we'd do it again, and I'd hear it and go, yeah, he was right. So no, no, it's a tremendous musician, and when you work with tremendous musicians, it always makes you better. So, and the members of that group are made up of local high school choir directors and some professional singers and some voice teachers, and it's a wonderful group. And again, I always enjoy singing with them, and I always learn something. There's never been a rehearsal that I left where I didn't learn anything. So thank you, San Antonio Chamber Choir, for helping my artistry and being such a beacon of artistic light in the city of San Antonio. So thank you.
All we've been given by those who came before, the dream of a nation where freedom would endure, the hopes and prayers of centuries have brought us to this day. What will be our legacy? What will our children say? Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I've received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. Each generation, from the plains to distant shore, with the gifts that they were given, were determined to leave more. Valiant battles fought together, acts of conscience fought alone. These are the seeds from which America has grown. Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I've received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. For those who think they have nothing to share, who feel in their hearts that there is no hero there, know each quiet act of dignity is that which fortifies the soul of a nation that never dies. Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing the blessings I've received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, 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 America. I gave my best to
In the spring of 2019, we presented I Got Rhythm, which featured two composers, George Gershwin of North America and Astor Piazzolla of South America, literally of Argentina. What you don't know is that they both were in New York at the same time in the 1920s, And they both studied with the amazing teacher, composer, Nadia Boulanger from France. And they were both told by this wonderful teacher to keep incorporating what they believed they thought was a problem in their writing, and that is jazz for George Gershwin and the tango for the Argentinian composer Astor Piazzolla. And they used the techniques that they were taught. They both loved Bach, they both loved the fugue, they both loved counterpoint in so many different ways. And the piece we're going to be talking about today is called Muerte de Angel, which starts with an incredible fugue between three instruments, piano, violin, and cello, and was very popular. Piazzolla performed many, many times around South America. And both Gershwin and Piazzolla continually borrowed from the bar line and moved the bar line. If you think about the tune Fascinating Rhythm, it's continually moving the bar line forward. Same thing with Piazzolla's La Muerte de Angel. And you'll see this bar line continually move, sometimes in 3/4, sometimes in 2/4, sometimes in 5/4, all over the place. And that rhythmic drive really captivated audiences and captivated both composers and into doing many, many great things and moving the music forward. La Muerte de Angel is written about a real person that was stationed in Buenos Aires and was serving the poor, unfortunately was killed. So the death of the angel is this actual person. It's in a 3-part form, starts with the fugue, and then goes to a sort of a sentimental yet unsettling middle section, and then finishes up again with the fugal theme without the fugue, and a sort of a crash of glissando with violin and cello to end the work. La Muerte de Angel Astor Piazzolla.
My name is Valerie Jenin, and I've had the pleasure of singing with the San Antonio Chamber Choir since 2010. Music came into my life because of my grandmother. When I was a child, my grandmother sang in the Corpus Christi Cathedral Choir, and so that meant when we went to go visit, either we went to the beach or we went to Mass. I remember early on sitting in service, and I would keep on turning around to look at the choir loft to listen to the music. And it just made me come alive when I would hear that music. It was incredible, and it brought joy, it seemed, to everyone who was there. And the choir community was something my grandmother treasured very much. I remember warm encounters between her alto friends when we would go and meet her after the service as she was putting away her robe. And I remember how delighted she was when the director asked her to translate something from her native tongue of German. And so even as a child, I knew that that strong sense of community was something that I wanted. And also I like singing and music, so I was like, what did I have to lose? So we went home after a visit to Grandma, and I asked my mom, can I sing in our church choir? And she said yes. So I started in 3rd grade, and I never stopped singing after that. So throughout my musical journey, I've had amazing teachers and support, and that's led me to where I am now, which is teaching choral music here in San Antonio in a public school. Singing with the San Antonio Chamber Choir gives me a chance to perform with high caliber musicians, and it gets me back to that initial childhood dream of being in a community of like-minded singers and just creating beauty together.
Hello and good evening and welcome to my studio. My name is Kim Nosella Denmark, and I come from a family of composers and musicians, and probably my uncle being the most significant in my career. My uncle started my career at the age of 2. I started piano with him at that age, and he is a composer, a jazz musician, a classical musician, a church organist, which he has spread to me and taught me the significance of chant and being a Catholic composer. So he taught me the significance of Gregorian chant, and that being one of the just basis of our music of today's time, and being so pure in the Christian faith. I took this text and I ran with it. I found this text from 2 settings I already liked, Siler and Yalo, and I came up with, like, let's produce this. So I found some friends and we all collaborated and made this into a huge, awesome presentation for you to enjoy. This text alone means where there is charity and love, God is there. How awesome in today's time, because we are selflessly in God's presence all the time. We want to share this love to you during this presentation, and let you know that that we're giving this selflessly to you. That being said, Jesus was given selflessly to us. God gave his only son to us, and we want to pass that love on to you. So God is the vine and we are the branches, and we produce fruit, and that fruit we're giving to you during this presentation. So enjoy, sit back, and have fun with this presentation. Okay, so I am now going to talk to you about the presentation. Okay, the presentation is called is based on the text for Ubi Caritas, which my friends gave you the whole lowdown, or will give you the lowdown about the text. The chant is composed by Paolo di Aquila in 796. It is a hymn of the Western Church, or the Catholic Church, and has been the basis for many works. Okay, we started with that, and we end with that. The Duraflay was the next setting, just because it was so closely based, and it was based on that same key. The setting shows the freely flowing motion of the chant, first presented with a nice alto line, which Valerie will show you, and then is the forefront throughout this piece is primarily homophonic, with moving together in a hymn-like fashion. Okay, then the next work we decided to do was the Siler, and this work was composed in 2018, and we like the setting because of the harmonies that expand outwardly. Mr. James Seiler is a local UTSA professor down the road and reached out to us on this work. Thank you, Mr. Seiler, and we hope you're tuning in. The next piece we will be presenting will be the Stenoff, and this work was written in 2014, and this work takes a chant and puts it in 3 different settings. The first being a solo soprano line, where the other 3 lines are harmonizing with that line. The second being a lovely canon between the soprano and the alto line. And the third is a canon of all 4 voices. And we enjoyed singing that. It took some work, and we toughed it out, so it was awesome. The next work we worked on was the Trota, and this was gorgeous. This was a work composed in 2018. The setting features a solo line in which our ensemble decided to use the color of an oboist to float above those 4 voices. We would like to thank Michael Tiarina for being that oboist that floated above us. And lastly, our last piece that we chose was the Halo. And this arrangement was composed in 2007. And he used the chant as an inspiration as opposed to the basis. So he took the form and the dynamic range of a setting by using the significance of the words for the basis. So we enjoyed working on that just because the harmonies showed some jazz influence as well, I believe. Okay, and then we end with a chant on the stairs, and we hope you enjoy all these works. And I would like to end with Ubi Caritas es vera Deus ibi est, and where charity lives, God is there. So God's blessings, friends, and enjoy our presentation. Thanks. Bye.
Hello, welcome. My name is Jesus Rocha, and this is Otoniel Rodriguez. We welcome you. What we want to do today is talk through the Ubi Caritas text, and we'll give you the English translation after each verse. Ubi caritas et amor Deus ibi est, congregavit nos in unum Christi amor, exultemus et in ipso iucundemur, timeamus et amemus Deum vivum, et ex corde diligamus nos sincero.
Where charity and love are, there God is. The love of Christ has gathered us into one. Let us exalt, and in him be joyful. Let us fear and let us love the living God. And from a sincere heart, let us love each other and him.
Ubi caritas et amor Deus ibi est, simul ergo cum in unum congregamur. Ne nos mente dividamur caveamus cessent iurgia, maligna cessent lites, et in medio nostri sit Christus Deus.
Where charity and love are, there God is. Therefore, whensoever we are gathered as one, lest we in mind be divided, let us beware. Let us cease malicious quarrels, let strife give way, and in the midst of us be Christ our God.
Ubi caritas et amor Deus ibi est, simul quoque cum beatis videamus, glorianter vultum tuum Christe Deus, gaudium quod est immensum atque probum, saecula per infinita saeculorum. Amen.
Where charity and love are, there God is. Together also with the blessed may we see gloriously thy countenance. O Christ, our God, a joy which is immense and also approved through infinite ages of ages. Amen.